I'm not stirring up anything but the truth here.
Einstein once said, if he had an hour to solve a problem and his life depended on it, he'd use the first 55 minutes defining it. Because once he understands the nature of the problem, it will take him less than 5 minutes to solve it. So what might have been seen as all talk and no action, or too much time thinking about emerging problems, might have been the time needed to get ahead of the problems that are emerging in the present day, so we can light the path to a brighter tomorrow. Hi, my name is Will Price, and I'm the Chief Solutions Architect for Fives.org, paving the way to single payer, but without the price tag. I like tacos, 79 pintos, and magenta is my favorite color. Those are the words that I said to my wife more than 32 years ago. We just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary on the same day that Naomi released No, It's Not Enough, a 5-step plan to survive the Trump Shock Doctrine. The purpose of this video is to A, make sure you know that my wife isn't crazy for sticking with me for so long, but more importantly, B, is to provide a viable response to Naomi's call to action that will give teeth to the demands being made by the resistance. And C, to take a look at some of the clips I found online that'll help you understand what has to happen next to put the power back into the hands of we the people.
Shock.
Shocking.
I don't think I could sit down right now.
You mean?
Historic, astounding, shocking.
It's a word that's come up a lot since November, for obvious reasons.
He's going to inject a shock to the system.
Now, I've spent a lot of time thinking about shock. 10 years ago, I published the Shock Doctrine, an investigation that spanned 4 decades. I noticed a brutal and recurring tactic by right-wing governments. After a shocking event, a war, a coup, a terrorist attack, market crash, or natural disaster, exploit the public's disorientation, suspend democracy, push through radical policies that enrich the 1% at the expense of the poor and middle class.
This is a repeal and a replace of Obamacare.
We are going to cut taxes and simplify the tax code.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
Now, some people have said that's exactly what Trump has been trying to do. Is it true? Well, sort of, but in all likelihood, the worst is yet to come, and we'd better be ready. The administration is creating chaos daily.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price has resigned.
And President Trump has nominated Alex Azar, a former top executive of pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly, to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Public Citizen's Rob Weissman criticized the nomination, saying, quote, Tom Price supported Big Pharma in the U.S. Congress. Now, apparently, Trump has decided to cut out the middleman and let a pharmaceutical executive literally run the federal department that protects the health of all Americans, unquote.
Now, people around Trump are using the daily shocks as cover to advance wildly pro-corporate policies that bear little resemblance to what Trump pledged on the campaign trail.
Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
The White House released its budget for 2018, and among the $4 trillion in cuts it proposes are billions upon billions of dollars slashed from both Medicaid and Social Security.
And the worst part?
There is no such thing as Obamacare anymore. Obamacare is finished. It's dead. It's gone.
Now, this is likely just the warm-up. We need to focus on what this administration will do when it has a major external shock to exploit. Maybe it'll be an economic crash, maybe a natural disaster, or maybe it'll be a horrific terrorist event, like
an outdoor country music festival.
The terror attack in Lower Manhattan today.
Now, any one such crisis could give Trump and his crew free rein to ram through their most extreme ideas. Here is one thing I've learned over 2 decades of reporting from dozens of crises around the world. These tactics can be resisted. And for your convenience, I've tried to boil it down to a 5-step plan. Step 1, know what's coming.
And it doesn't take much imagination either, now that the Trump administration has sabotaged healthcare by approving low-value insurance plans, repealing the Obamacare mandates, and denying CSR payments to insurance companies, which increases uncertainty and gives them a reason to increase their rates to everyone, including businesses, which makes Obamacare implosion a self-fulfilling prophecy. In addition to driving up healthcare costs, the administration seems to be doing its best to undermine cabinet-level departments that are responsible for protecting the health, safety, and well-being of the American people. And they're also responsible for making sure we can recover quickly for natural disasters, drug shortages, and toxic spills, while protecting the people from crooked banksters.
If we know what to expect, we won't be that shocked. We'll just be pissed, and that's important for step 2. Get out of your home and defy the ban.
I'd like you to imagine that you live in a really repressive country. There are elections, but they're fake. The leader wins 100% of the vote each time. Security forces beat up opposition leaders with impunity, and they harass everyone else. This is a country where being in this room right now would get you on a list. Now let's say you've had enough, and so have many other people that you talk with in low whispers. Now, I'm not talking about the Hunger Games, although that would be awesome. Unfortunately, I'm talking about real-world conditions that many people face right now. So assuming you've decided to act, what would be the best way for you to challenge the system and create something new?
Disobey en masse.
In 2006, I was a PhD student studying political science, and my dissertation was on how and why people use violence to create political change in their countries. I collected data on all major nonviolent and violent campaigns for the overthrow of a government or territorial liberation since 1900. The data cover the entire world and consist of every known case where there were at least 1,000 observed participants. This is hundreds of cases. Then I analyzed the data, and the results blew me away. From 1900 to 2006, nonviolent campaigns worldwide were twice as likely to succeed outright as violent insurgencies. And there's more. This trend has been increasing over time, so that in the last 50 years, nonviolent campaigns are becoming increasingly successful and common, whereas violent insurgencies are becoming increasingly rare and unsuccessful. This is true even in those extremely brutal authoritarian conditions where I expected nonviolent resistance to fail. So why is civil resistance so much more effective than armed struggle? The answer seems to lie in people power itself. Researchers used to say that no government could survive if just 5% of its population rose up against it. Our data show that the number may be lower than that. No single campaigns failed after they'd achieved the active and sustained participation of just 3.5% of the population. Now, 3.5% is nothing to sneeze at. In the US today, that's like 11 million people.
Which is fewer than 10% of the prescription drug users in the US, all of whom can benefit from volume discounts on prescription drugs, just like you'd get with a decent insurance plan. So National Nurses United, labor unions, and other progressive causes across the nation should join forces to create a people's discount buying club that will be owned, operated by, and accountable only to the members, we the people, and not corporate overlords, where we can use collective buying power to give strength to the demands being made by unions and the resistance, even if corporations want to shut us out. Because our opt-in program will prove that the power of the people is stronger than the people in power when we buy as a group and when we work as a team for the common good.
Every single campaign that surpassed that 3.5% was a nonviolent one. In fact, the nonviolent campaigns were on average 4 times larger than the average violent campaign.
And a good nonviolent campaign can be as simple as a people's discount buying club that will be free to the public and use the collective buying power of our members, the 99%, to negotiate for lower drug prices and better deals as a group. We can pass the savings on to the public and give Medicare the benefit of negotiated prices without requiring an active Congress, because consumers can buy from wherever they want.
In fact, the nonviolent campaigns were often much more inclusive and representative in terms of gender, age, race, political party, class, and the urban-rural distinction.
That said, it sounds like we'll have plenty of leverage because the People's Discount Buying Club can qualify for even larger volume discounts than the biggest private insurance plans. This matters because rising drug prices are the leading cause of rising insurance premiums and the cost of doing business in the United States. This will prepare us to compete in the free market against private insurers and win, just like a public option.
Which brings us to step 3, know your history. Throughout U.S. history, national crises have been used to suspend constitutional protections and attack basic rights.
Quick question. Who among us voted to allow companies to poison our air, land, water, and food supply while denying us access to the health care we need at an affordable price, while also gutting the safety net to pay for tax breaks and blaming the victims for their suffering, while laughing our way to the bank after tricking us into voting for them under false pretense? Is that even legal? Using our vote to treat corporations better than we the people. Clearly we can do better with the right plan.
Something else we know from history. Step 4.
Always follow the money.
And the only reason these cuts are in this bill at all is to pay for tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans.
Why is it that we're the only country that has a healthcare system like us?
It is a money-making racket. It is a form of modern-day enslavement to Big Pharma. That's all it is.
Mainly because pharmaceutical and health insurance companies invest the most into buying off crooked politicians, which is the reason that price gouging and 6,000% markups are legal and celebrated on Capitol Hill. They betrayed us.
Why is it that we're the only country that has an economy run by Wall Street?
It's just enslavement under a new system. And frankly, that enslavement system also enslaves white people and Latino people and the Asian people and everybody.
But fortunately, we're not helpless if we work together. Minorities, women, and immigrants aren't the root cause of our problems. It's the corporations that get huge tax breaks to create jobs, but instead they keep us sick for profit while investing in robots to kill even more jobs in the future, which increases inequality and the need for affordable health care in the future.
Regardless of our skin color or our economic status, we the people have got to defend ourselves against a systemic mass poisoning and profiteering off of those that they can manage to successfully target and get away with it.
If we learn from this, we could actually make history with Step 5. Advance a bold counter plan.
And not just any plan either. It has to be able to solve multiple problems concurrently for different target audiences that may have conflicting interests but shared unmet needs, like the need to have less costly access to healthcare and affordable medications and decent jobs that pay fair wages. So to pull this off in a timely fashion while giving the resistance some teeth to back their demands, I suggest that advocates for single payer come together to form a People's Discount Buying Club that will be owned, operated by, and accountable only to we the people. You see, once we get more than 10% of the prescription drug users to join this plan, we can qualify for even larger volume discounts than the VA gets without an act of Congress. And we'll have more than the 3.5% needed to get a brand new Congress that will protect the best interests of we the people. And since we have no corporate overhead, we can serve more people for lower costs, which will allow us to compete with private insurance plans in the free market and win, which means we can bring stability to the health insurance market. How? By using the proceeds to help the people instead of help the rich get wealthy at our expense. It's called voting with our dollars, just like a public option. Now, for this to work quickly, advocates for single payer, nurses, and unions are invited to conduct the membership drive so we can get the 3.5% needed to get measurable positive results between now and the upcoming election. We'll get the best deal and can be up and running in a matter of months without an act of Congress, paving the way to single payer, but without the price tag. You see, this strategy will redirect funding away from the corporations that exploit financial hardship and get it directed back towards companies that value people, planet, and peace more than profit.